Hello there everyone, it's Nat here, aka the Wolf of Watertown, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 books that really played a big role in my financial journey. The Richest Man in Babylon harps on the idea of paying yourself first. It's where I learned that every month, as soon as I get my paycheck, I'm going to auto-direct money into my savings and my investment account. You want something to show for your work that you've done. So for instance, let's say you get paid $2,000 a month and your rent is $1,000 a month. That means that half the time you work each month, you're working for your landlord. And when you start looking at it with this mindset, the way you treat your excess money will change. Second lesson learned was to take action. I met a lot of people throughout my financial journey that read a whole bunch of books, know all this knowledge, yet never took any action or initiated anything with that knowledge that they have. As the saying goes, fortune favors the bold. The third lesson this book taught me was wealth is not about your income. There are a lot of people that make very high incomes, very educated individuals for that matter, who still live paycheck to paycheck. Your wealth is your income minus your expenses, which equals your savings. Thus, if you're not saving anything at the end of each month, you probably have a very low accumulation of wealth. One of the other big takeaways from this book was the idea of passive income. There's only 24 hours in a day, and within that 24 hours, there's only so much you can work or push your body until you need rest. So the idea behind passive income is employing your money so that you can make income while you sleep. Number 4 on my list was Cashflow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. In this book, he goes through the 7-step process of how him and his wife built wealth. But what's even more important in this book was the actual cash flow quadrant, where he puts people into 4 categories. The first category he outlines is the employee, which the majority of us fall under. This is where your only source of income comes from your W-2 job. A lot of people stay in this category because they have a perceived sense of security, and he goes on to elaborate on how that isn't necessarily true. The second category was the S, which talks about self-employed people. Now, these are people that are highly educated, such as lawyers and doctors who own their own practice. The benefit of people in this category is that they have the autonomy to run their business how they see fit. However, their business needs them in order to survive. So the minute they're out or can't work, the business inevitably fails. The B category is for people that own a business. So in this, it talks about how the world is pretty much a system. So the business in turn is also a system where you have people in place to do the job. So even without the owner present, the system will still be self-sufficient. People in this category are also able to take advantage of a lot of tax benefits. The last category that he talks about is the I, which stands for investors. These are people who put their money into places or into different businesses, stay hands off, and watch their money work for them from afar. I like the Millionaire Next Door a lot because it really gives a lot of quantifiable data that is collected from the multiple millionaires that were interviewed during the making of the book. Due to media and how social media works as a whole, in most of our minds, we have a perception of what a millionaire is. But this book talks about how your average millionaire is really someone who could be living right next door to you. It discusses many of the basic things that millionaires do, such as living below their means. One of the studies showed that the average millionaire is actually someone who's 50 years old. A lot of millionaires also create and continue to maintain a budget. And a lot of people probably wouldn't understand this. Well, if you're a millionaire, why would you have a budget? Well, guess what? When you see that very fit guy or girl, they don't stop going to the gym just because they're fit, or they would lose that level of fitness. In the same way, self-made millionaires, which make up the majority of millionaires in the world today, also continue to create budgets and maintain them because that's how they reach that millionaire status. The average millionaire values financial freedom over the latest gadget because they know that upgrading their life will also mean upgrading a lot more other things. For instance, once you upgrade your house to a bigger and better home, you're going to want to upgrade the furniture you get, the type of car you get, in order to keep up with that status that society expects someone of your level to have. The book also does a very good job of showing the actual cost of consumption. So for example, if you buy the latest iPhone for $1,000, it shows how that money could have compounded using a 10% interest rate in order to see what you actually missed out in buying the latest gadget instead of just keeping what you had that worked perfectly fine. The book also puts out a formula that you can use in order to calculate your net worth, which is you take your yearly salary, you multiply it by your age, and then you divide that by 10. And that should give you an indicator of how much you should have saved up in your net worth. Now, this book has absolutely nothing to do with personal finance. It's more of a mindset book and how to callous your mind. David Goggins is someone that you either love or you hate. Some people find him pretty annoying. The book reminds me of a post that I saw recently where it had two men. One was a CEO whose dad was an alcoholic, and one was a homeless man whose dad was also an alcoholic. When the CEO was asked why he doesn't drink and how he got to his level in life, his response was, because my dad was an alcoholic. And when the homeless man who had an alcohol problem was asked why he's in the position he's in life, his response was also, because my father was an alcoholic. And that's just to say that we can't control where we come from or what opportunities are initially given to us, but we can control our mindset and what we choose to do with our mind and our futures based off our experiences. Now, this book is the alpha and omega of personal finance, and not because it necessarily outlines anything in particular or gives steps. It doesn't give anything quantifiable at all for that matter, but it's a mindset book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki focuses on the concepts and principles that the rich teach their children that the poor do not. And it walks through two different scenarios where his rich dad dropped out of high school, but his poor dad was a college graduate and had all these extra degrees to his name. Now, the two dads that were in his life literally saw everything completely different. One depended on government assistance and security and also getting a safe and secure job, while the other one believed in collecting assets and building businesses in order to generate their wealth. And you see throughout the transition of their life how each one ends up. This last book is going to be in my honorable mention list just because I just recently read it, so I'll probably give it a few more reads. But it was written by a mentor of mine. The book is called Black and Gold, An Officer's Journey from West Point to Millionaire. First off, it was just a very relatable book, and he breaks down each different phase of his life, talking about his net worth and very impactful things that happened during that stage of his life, almost kind of like looking into the future. Not only does it touch on the topic of finances, but it talks about personal life and growth throughout his journey. So I think anyone who's a young officer or anyone who's just starting out in their careers in general could learn a lot and could also benefit from reading this book right here, Black and Gold. That's all I got for you guys today. Make sure to subscribe and like, and see you next time.